TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Farms Breed Secure program. Keep your cash, keep your profit. Call today to learn how Breed Secure can benefit you.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, today we are out at Keeneland. Man, it was a beautiful morning. Kind of had that nice, crisp breeze going. The horses were feeling good.
No rain.
No rain, finally. But we were down at the training track, and, man, we saw Beholder, and, man, she looked absolutely amazing this morning. She looked like a Cadillac going across that track. And then to get back to the office and to hear this news, man, it's really disappointing.
It's a punch in the gut. I mean, she's looked so well, John. We know about the fever. We know about the shipping issues with the lungs. But, got out of her breeze fine, looked tremendous breezing. Certainly has looked like a bear training in the mornings, really training up to a big race. I liked her in the Classic. And then you get the news that she bled and is out, and we lost her. Another superstar we lost, Untappable. Filly that was, I think, going to be very tough in the distaff, obviously, is the defending winner there. And then even Stick Stately Dude, a horse that I loved in the juvenile. I don't want to say loved, but I was going to pick him in the juvenile. I think he was trending up to the race the right way. So we've really taken a blow with some of these horses, but it couldn't have been a worse defection than Beholder. I mean, that was a showdown everybody wanted to see, certainly with American Pharoah.
Yeah, and it's not a secret, Spendthrift's our sponsor, but, I mean, they are such great people, and they take such good care of this filly. I mean, they really do. They love this filly. It wasn't anything major, but like we said, she had to be perfect going into this race for them to run her. It's very disappointing for them, and our hearts go out to them.
Yep.
But, like we said to the connections this morning, look, she's healthy. They got a whole horse standing in the barn. They got a lot of options with her next year. They're talking about possibly running her. So, look, it's disappointing. Yes, it sucks for this weekend, but the facts of the matter is she may run next year, and that would be huge for racing.
Absolutely.
But we got a lot of horses, a lot of good horses that are going to be running this weekend.
13 races.
This is our pick show, so let's get into it, man, and let's talk about the juvenile turf. We saw a lot of Europeans out there today, and a lot of horses that I'm not super familiar with. This would be one of those races. Tell me, who do you like in here?
I like Simric. He is one of your morning line favorites at 7-2, John. I liked Hit a Bomb in here, but he drew the far outside, and he's not very experienced. Hasn't been around 2 turns yet. I think he's probably the best, maybe, of the Europeans in terms of talent. But Simric's a horse that drew one stall to the inside of him. I think is going to obviously be proven the further he goes. A mile should hit him perfect, and he has all that experience. I think that's going to be the difference, particularly with the draw, with Hit a Bomb being so far out. The American horse to watch here is Aeroforce. Mark Casse, that big win over the course. Interesting to see how he runs, but I always favor the Europeans over the Americans unless one is really special in America.
All right, let's move now then to the dirt mile. And, there are some horses out there training today, and one of them that really caught my eye was Lee. This horse is training like a monster. I'm telling you, he was pulling his jockey out of the saddle. He looks like he's ready to run.
Well, we saw him work the other day, and he worked late in the morning, and I thought he worked tremendous. I mean, they were asking him for the effort, but the way he skipped over the track, I think he's in top form. He's well rested, turf to dirt here. I think a 2-turn mile hit him right between the eyes, John. He has a ton of back class. Liam's Map's going to be a huge favorite in here, but he has to contend with Braidster breaking to his inside and what is probably going to be a contentious pace. And Liam's Map's really never faced horses that are willing to come at him with a lot of speed. So I'm willing to say, okay, with that adversity for Liam's Map, let's go with somebody coming from maybe just off the pace on a stalking trip. I like Lay to close in here on a track that I saw him get over very well. At 8-1, I like Lay coming from off the pace. He's my pick.
All right, well, let's go now to the juvenile fillies turf. Again, a race I'm not super familiar with, but I'm sure you're going to go with a European.
I am. I'm going Alice Springs in here, John. A Coolmore filly, well experienced. She hasn't been past 7 furlongs. But when I look at the race replays, she's a daughter of Galileo, a lot of stamina on the female side. She looks like a filly. She's a stretchy filly. Looks like she should love a 2-turn mile. I think she's going to appreciate and move up based on that. Illuminate, when I look at her races coming from Europe, a lot of class. But to me, she strikes me maybe as a little bit more of a sprinter type. Hasn't been past 6 furlongs. So I like Coolmore's experience and what they know how to get it done, bringing a horse over. I think she's going to win. Harmonize, I gave a long look at for Bill Mott. Nice local win at Keeneland. top class filly, but I still favor the Euros in here.
All right, well, let's move now back to the dirt, and let's talk about the distaff. You know, this race really broke wide open. Like you said, Untappable out, Beholder, you know, was not going to run in there anyway, but, you know, it really kind of left this race wide open. Tell me, who do you like?
Well, besides Beholder, I think the division's wide open. I mean, I've felt that all year. I mean, certainly Sheer Drama came on, but she's drawn outside here. John has to ship in. I do think she's a deserving favorite in here, but it's too wide open for me to take a favorite in here. So I'm going to go with Frivolous at 30-1. I really think she's the best long shot because I just feel like, even her race last time out in the Spencer was a solid performance. I think if you look at her body of work and her numbers, she fits very well in here at 1 mile and an eighth. So again, 30-1. I looked at I'm a Chatterbox. I looked at a couple different directions in here, but to me it's too wide open to take a short price. I like Frivolous. I like where she drew, and I think she can pull the upset.
Here's what I love about the Breeders' Cup. That race wide open. Next race, I mean, there's really only one filly to pick in here. I just wonder if you picked her. And of course, I'm talking about the juvenile fillies.
Yeah, and that's Songbird. She drew outside, John. Rachel Valentina, I think, is going to run very well. I like Rachel's Valentina quite a bit. At first I thought Songbird was going to be a definitive one of the heaviest favorites and it'd be tough to really get away from her. What I've seen out of training from Rachel's Valentina has encouraged me that she's going to run a monster race. I just like the fact that Songbird drew the 10-hole. I don't think Johnny's going to race ride her from the 9-hole. I don't see how she could do that because she doesn't want to wind up in front. Maybe he tries to drift her wide going to the first turn, but Songbird's going to make the lead or at least be very forwardly placed. Rachel's Valentina, land over C, those fillies want to come from off of it. Songbird's doing so well right now. At 2 turns, good quality speed at Keeneland holds. I like Songbird.
All right, let's move now to the turf sprint and tell me who do you like in there.
I like Green Mask. Wesley Ward, I like both of his horses in here, undrafted and the Green Mask. But undrafted's going to be a short price. Green Mask is 15-1, John. And I think at 5.5 furlongs, that's a little bit short for undrafted. He wants to go a little further than that, so he could come up short in here. Green Mask is a horse, good rider. Joel Rosario has that tactical speed, can finish off of it. He's a local horse, so I like him.
All right, let's move now to the filly and mare sprint. Again, a race here. There's a lot of good talent in here. Tell me, who'd you like in there?
Well, this is another wide open group, and I could be way wrong here going with Stone-tastic at 5-1. I mean, I think she's the favorite at 5-1. That tells you how wide open it is, but I do believe she's the best female sprinter in the country. They skipped a final prep because they didn't want her to bounce. They wanted to train her right up to the Breeders' Cup. She's looked very well here. I'm a little concerned with La Verdad and some of the other speeds she's going to have to contend with early because she's never proven that she can handle 7 furlongs when facing adversity, but I think she gets the jump on these and she's the best. If she were to fold, though, which isn't out of the realm of possibility going 7 furlongs, I do like some long shots like Super Majesty, an up-and-coming filly, maybe coming from off the pace. But Stone-tastic, because I think she's the best sprinter in the country, I think she's going to get the jump, and I expect her to be impressive on the front end.
All right, filly and mare turf. We saw a lot of these horses out today. They were on the training track there on the Poly doing their morning workout. We saw a filly in here that you said you liked quite a bit. Did you pick her?
I did, and that's Balwina. I really liked her physically, John. A lot of these Europeans have had a long campaign, and it's hard to really know their nature without having followed them all year. A lot of them are smaller made type fillies. Balwina looked great in the flesh, I felt like. She's been very close all year. Should love this distance, and you're getting 15-1 on her. I mean, when you compare that to, some of the American horses that aren't as classy as her and the prices you'll get on them, and even, a horse like Legatissimo, who's going to be a short price favorite in here, I don't think there's much difference. So 15-1, I'm willing to take that.
All right, let's move now back to the dirt, and we're going to talk about the sprint. This is another division where we lost Rockfall in there, unfortunately. But tell me, who did you go for in here?
It's hard to have a best bet horse in the sprint because it's such a tough race. I mean, the sprint and the mile, it really requires luck, John. I mean, any misstep or any opportunity to where you get in trouble or can't get around or maybe you break poorly from the gate, I mean, it's over for you. I mean, it's just a tightly run race. It takes perfection. It takes a cruising speed. And the horse I like isn't a cruiser, Wild Dude, but I think there's so much speed in the race. Favorite Tail, Run Happy. I mean, I see a lot of pace in here, and I don't see a lot of top-end quality. I mean, it's hard to trust Run Happy, in my opinion, in this type of race, and he's going to be your favorite. So, Wild Dude, I think he's an accomplished 6-furlong sprinter on top of his game. I think he'll get the pace to run into. He's my best bet at 10-1.
I'll tell you, a little surprised on that one. I don't have time to challenge you. I think Run Happy's doing fantastic right now. He's going to be tough to beat.
Hey, he worked 109 and change last week. I mean, that shows his talent, but also shows a pretty aggressive move by the trainer to do that a week before his biggest race of his life.
All right, well, let's move now then to the mile. This race is always dominated by the Europeans. Tell me, do you pick another Euro in here?
I do. I have to. I mean, Make Believe is a horse that, he's 3-1 in the morning line. I think you're going to get a little better price than that, John, but he's a 3-year-old colt over there. The only time he's really run very poorly was in the St. James Palace where he got at Royal Ascot meet. He got really firm ground, didn't show up that day, but I think there's going to be cut in the ground still. All the rain we've gotten all week, he's that European that I think is an up-and-coming star right now as a 3-year-old. The fact that as a top-class miler, he likes that cut in the ground. I think with his forward tactical speed, he's going to be able to sit right in the pocket, and he's going to be very tough to reel in.
All right, well, the next race, you're talking about up-and-coming stars. This is the race that we always kind of look for that next 2-year-old. Of course, I'm talking about the juvenile. Tell me, who do you pick in here?
Well, kind of like the distaff, where I felt like the field was vulnerable and I wanted to go with a long shot. I feel the same way about the juvenile. I mean, I told you I like Stick Stately Do before he defected. He was going to be a price horse in here, but I just look at this juvenile field, John. It just does not look nearly as strong as the juvenile fillies. I mean, I think Exaggerator is probably the most consistent colt. If you just want a horse that can hit the board, or maybe most likely winner. But I can't bet a most likely winner if I feel the field is vulnerable. So I'm going with 30 to 1 shot, and that's Conquest Big E. If you look at his first-time maiden race, he got left at the gate against Brody's Cause, went 4 or 5 wide all the way around the track. Brody's Cause got a much better trip, wound up beating him that day. Conquest Big E comes back at Keeneland and runs a better Ragozin number than Exaggerator did when he was runner-up in the Breeders' Futurity. So I just think here's a ton of talent in a field that's not that talented. The light bulb needs to go on. And I hear he's working really well at Churchill. So for 30 to 1, I don't like the fact that he drew the rail, but if he can get in the clear, he's a big physical colt. I think he has enough talent that if he takes that step forward, he can be dangerous. He won't be 30 to 1. That's a bad morning line.
All right, so here we go. We're talking about the turf now. Of course, this is another division that the Euros dominate. There's some heavy favorites in here. Tell me, you going chalk on this one?
I'm going chalk. I mean, it's the ARC winner. I know a lot of them have been vulnerable in the past. He's 4 to 5 in here. I get it. But he's a horse with tactical speed, John, and Shining Copper breaks right inside with him, is going to go the lead and create a pocket for Frankie to be able to sit in. Frankie, I think, is going to get the trip to put him wherever he wants to save ground. And how are you going to reel this horse in? I mean, to me, he looked good in the flesh. He doesn't look like a horse that's had that long, hard campaign. I just think he's the best mile-and-a-half horse in the world. He's going to beat these Americans. The only horse that I think has a shot, if he were to defect, if he were to maybe not run his best race or get in some trouble, would be Big Blue Kitten.
All right, well, let's move now then to the big race. Of course, I'm talking about the Classic. Joel, one thing I love about this industry is that, Beholder unfortunately scratched, but, we talked to the Zayats right after, and they're like, look, our hearts go out to you. They've had horses, big horses that have scratched, and just how we treat each other. Yeah, we compete against each other, but we're also a family. So, talking to them, they said, hopefully the connections of Beholder know, how they feel. They were looking forward to the race too. But
Yep.
Joel, that race now opens up a little bit, except, you got this looming champion, a horse that's going for history. We saw him this morning the first time at Keeneland. Usually when we see Jorge after the race, we see him, on here. Usually he talks to us. Joel,
Yeah.
he was so tired.
This
horse was wearing him out this morning. He looks fantastic. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, he trained on the poly track this morning. I mean, he just looked like a bear. I mean, everybody knows about that efficient stride. He just bounds along, covers so much ground so effortlessly. But this horse is just doing tremendous right now. Every work I've seen on video in California has been tremendous. I think Baffert's got him on his A game, or they wouldn't be here. And the fact that Beholder's out, again, going 10 furlongs against older horses, a horse like Toneless, if there's pace in here, I'd probably like a horse like Toneless at that distance, having to face at the rail like American Pharaoh. I think he's better than Keen Ice, who beat American Pharaoh. However, pace makes the race. Keeneland's speed has been holding, particularly in 2-turn races. Where's the speed? I see American Pharaoh going to the lead in here, and somebody's going to really have to go out of their game to be able to, challenge him at any point down the backstretch, in my opinion. I mean, who's it going to be, Smooth Roller or a horse like that? So I just think he gets it his own way, he pours it on, and he wins this race because pace makes the race, and he's doing so well right now.
All right, let me hear that right. Did you pick American Pharaoh
I'm picking
to
American
win the
Pharaoh.
Classic?
He's 6 to 5. Golden Horn's 4 to 5. That's not wrapping up a day with much fireworks, but I do think American Pharaoh gets the job done, and I do think it's because he's able to control the pace on a racetrack that's going to allow him to carry that speed.
I know when Mr. Zayat watches this, he's going to be so happy. He's been
Well,
trying
who
to.
you got?
Listen, I've always been an American Pharaoh
Yeah.
fan. I mean,
I didn't
watching
have
him-
to ask.
Watching him this morning, though, for real, you're
Yeah.
watching him, because it was going to be tough. Beholder was doing so well.
I know.
But watching him this morning and with Beholder out, Joel, this horse is fit, man. He's ready to go. I'm telling you, he looks great.
I think Beholder would have given him a race, stock and pounds.
I do too.
I think that would have been a heck of a stretch battle.
Man, it's going to be a great weekend of racing. Thank you guys for sticking with us. I know the show is a little long, but we wanted to get you all these picks, and we'll have a recap for you next week. We'll recap all these Breeders' Cup races.